the street people, telling them that God has smiled on me. God has smiled on you if you got breath in your body. If he woke you up this morning and started you on your way. But I want to tell you some stories of people that God smiled on. We know the story of Dr. Martin Luther King, how it started way back in Montgomery, Alabama in 1955. Trying just to get dignity, trying to get respect. And he went all the way to the mountaintop. But he didn't forget about the brothers in the valley. He didn't forget about those trapped in the alley. And I hear Brother Martin King saying, God has smiled on me. He's been good to me. Let me tell you, God has smiled on me. He's been so good to me. Then I see as Dr. King went on, another man stepping to the forefront by the name of John F. Kennedy, who rose up and said, let's not stand back. Let's not wait for a handout. Let's wait for a way out. He said, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. He said, don't us gravel and don't us moan, because God done smile on us. Let me say it. God has smiled on me. He has set me free. Let me say it. God has smiled on me. One more time. I want to say it real slow. I'll say God has smiled on me. He has set me free. Pick it up. God has smiled on me. He's been good. Then I went on by backstage at the Apollo Theater and I saw a man come out. They call him the King of Soul, James Brown. And James Brown said, Reverend, don't you worry. I started out as a shoe shine boy. I started out as a convict. I started out uneducated. But I learned to sing my song. And I sung it all over the world. I told him it was a man's world. I told him about the big payback. I told him Papa got a brand new bag. And all over the world, they can hear my voice. But Reverend, don't you frown. Don't you bow your head. Tell them what you told me, Brother Brown. I said, now God has smiled on me. He has set me free. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I want to scream, y'all. I want to scream, y'all. God has smiled on me. He has set me free.
Bleeding one of those marches.
Keeping it real with America's #1 civil rights leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
You're live, sir. It's Thursday, November 13th. Do you know what time it is? It's Al Sharpton's time. And for the next 3 hours, it's time to put aside all pretenses, deception, denial, or fronting. The time has come to keep it real on Keeping It Real with Reverend Al Sharpton. A very good afternoon to you all across the country. And good morning to our West Coast listeners. Welcome to those listening on Sirius XM Channel 126, or you that are watching live at www.nationalactionnetwork.net live stream. And I'm coming to you live from our National Action Network corporate headquarters in New York. Lot to talk about today. I probably can just sit back and let you all say what needs to be said because there's so much happening. Let's try to cover it all in 3 hours and I'm going to go to the phones a lot today and read some of the message boards. But let's start with Trump signed the funding bill into law last night after a 43-day shutdown, longest in American history. Signing it brings back, it funds agencies through January 30th, including a 3-bill minibus fully supporting SNAP through September for more than 40 million Americans. So SNAP will be back at least through next September, and it reinstates thousands of laid-off federal workers with guaranteed back pay. So that's good. SNAP is back, back pay, and furloughs in. What is not good is that the Affordable Care Act subsidies potentially raising premiums for over 20 million people has not been guaranteed to be voted on by the House. And so Democrats stood up 43 days and then caved 8 of them. And the fight is going back and forth on whether Schumer should have done more, and I don't know whether he could have or not. I know that I would not have caved if I was one of the 8. Schumer and Offer and Warnock, all of them did not cave. They voted against caving, but that is where we are. But the big news yesterday is some emails were released by the House Oversight Committee from Jeffrey Epstein from the Epstein estate. These are not now the emails that the government were to release if they had 218 people voting for discharge. Now that the congresswoman has been sworn in that took her father's seat, won it in a special election, she didn't just take it. And now that Gravalda is in, she signed the discharge yesterday. They tapped 218. So now Speaker Mike Johnson is saying that they will take the vote next week and release the Epstein files. Now, what the estate released yesterday is, in my opinion, damaging. Because one of them, Jeffrey Epstein, says to his partner, Maxwell, who's in jail now, for convicted of trafficking underage girls. He says Trump knows about the girls on one. Another one, he says he spent hours with plural, with one of the, and they blocked the name because it's one of the victims. And another, he talks about how he's the worst person he ever met. Now, there's no evidence or even accusation that Trump was sexually engaged, but it certainly makes strong evidence that Trump knew about the girls. This is Epstein talking. And that he spent time with one of the girls, not necessarily sexually, but you'd have to assume he knew what was going on. And the reason why you know Trump is nervous about it is they say Trump was personally calling members of Congress not to sign the discharge papers last night. And some rebuffed him and did. This is a blow because one of the things that the right wing and the MAGA crowd has been harping on for years is release the Epstein files. Why won't Biden release them? Because some big Democrats are on there. It's a hard thing now for Trump and them to be fighting not to release those files. And it already implicates he had knowledge. So that is going to be very interesting. And they can argue all they want on sources and who knew what, but we'll see. And so those are major parts of the news. We see also the largest vessel from the U.S. is near Venezuela. And my fear is that Trump will try to invade Venezuela to distract from the Epstein papers. He likes to always come up with alternative programming. He's expert at that. So don't be surprised you don't get into the weekend and it escalates into a war and everybody's looking at that rather than dropping these papers next week. We also see that a federal judge is hearing the case on whether or not they should dismiss the charges against James Comey and New York State Attorney General Tish James. So we'll be watching that. And main news for me, both personal and public, was last evening my mentor, Reverend Jesse Jackson, was rushed to the hospital. I've talked through the night with his son, Jesse Jr. I just talked with Jesse Jr. again and his youngest son, Yusef, and he's in the hospital. And he's weak but steady, and we're asking for everyone's prayers for Reverend Jackson. He's been suffering Parkinson's, a form of Parkinson's disease, for the last several years, to where he was handicap bound, even lost ability to speak. I was there 3 weeks ago to keynote his birthday and the debut of the book on him by Abby Phillip. But I got to see him. They're not letting a lot of people see him. And he's in the hospital, as it's been reported. And we're asking everybody to pray for Reverend Jesse Jackson. There is no one, in my opinion, done more for more than Reverend Jackson. And there's certainly been no one that had more impact on my personal life as an activist, civil rights leader, than Jesse Jackson. So to say I didn't have a whole lot of sleep last night because I kept checking the text messages, and if they didn't text me, I was texting back, would be an understatement, because he meant and means that much to me. It's been family. I grew up, even my daughters, Dominique and Ashley, used to spend Christmas and Thanksgiving at their house. So, I mean, it's family. It's not just a political alliance. And so it means a lot to me. Keep him in your prayers. All right, we have a lot to talk about today, and I'm going to the phones and to the message board. Daryl Prunty saying, yes, Reverend Jackson and his family are in my prayers. Thank you, Daryl. Michelle Cooks is saying, good afternoon, Rev, and they're keeping it real guests and callers. Well, thank you, Michelle. Nicola DeMarco is saying, hello, Rev and Nan family from Tacoma, Washington on the West Coast. Did Donald Trump ever report Epstein to law enforcement? The schools of families of the victims. Did Trump testify in court against Epstein? These are the right questions, Nicola. Because if he had knowledge, as these emails that have been released clearly says he had knowledge, then certainly he should have reported them to the authorities, that this pedophilia ring was going on. Certainly he should have been a witness at Epstein's trial. And certainly we should know that he did something to support these young ladies. Even if he didn't engage in sex, and I don't know, people can vary in their opinions there, it doesn't even matter. If he had knowledge and did nothing about it. And when they prosecuted Epstein and Maxwell, and he didn't say he had information, go to court and testify about it, about his knowledge. A man wanting to be president of the United States. That's a real statement. So you're raising a very critical question. All right, let's get ready to take a break. We're going to come back. I'm lining up your calls. I want everybody to weigh on these things on the Epstein scandal. It might be the one that causes Trump a serious problem, about the reopening of the government and how that should be handled and who's to blame, as well as the possible invasion of Venezuela, and certainly you that want to give your comments on praying for Reverend Jackson. I'm open to all of that and more. All you have to do is call me at 1-877-532-5797. Sharpton. Keeping it real. Be right back. Keep it real.
Some of you forget where you come from and forget how you got there and act like you got there because you were qualified or that you had a good resume. But some of us had to pay a price for your resume to even be read. Some of us had to take nights in jails and licks upside the head or shut out of boardrooms like Byron so you could walk down red carpets and act like you got there by yourself. So I received this award with a special place in my heart and on my shelf because I'm getting it from a freedom fighter who never forgot where he came from and how he got there. Yes, we've come a long way. We've had now a black president and now a black vice president. But we still can get shot down and have to march to get a case in court. We still can get shut out of boardrooms. We're still doubly unemployed in a good economy. So we're going to have to keep marching. And I thank not only my family, a mother that raised me by herself, but I thank that lady at the end of the march that knows she won't be on TV that night and knows her name will never be in the paper, but she believed in me enough to get at the end of the line and make me look good. Because Dr. King used to say, if you call a march and no one shows up, you just going for a walk. And I want to thank those that marched with me. 32 years ago, here in Los Angeles, we marched. And then many years later, with George Floyd and others, we're still marching. And I'm going to keep marching. I'm going to keep agitating. And I'm going to keep going. Until we don't have to do it anymore. Eddie, known you a long time. Mariah, christen your kids. And I promise you this. The only thing that I really live for is I get up with this dream that every bigot, every racist, everyone in this country that hates will say, damn, he's up again.
It's been a long time coming, but I know
1968, Dr. Martin King was killed in Memphis, Tennessee. And it has been the commitment of National Action Network for always in the month he was killed.
dream today.
I'm here because I must be here. Democracy is not there for the pig, and you have to fight for democracy. That's what it is. What Trump will erase, we will replace.
Is the dreamers in many cases have reversed and tried to turn it into a nightmare. We come to Wall Street rather than Washington this year to let them know you can try to turn back the clock, but you can't turn back time. We gonna keep the dream alive on Wall Street. No justice, no justice, no justice. What do we want? What do we want?
We are the sons and the daughters. We gotta stand up and make it loud. Just like our God told the Pharaoh, let my people go, go. We are a new generation from the ones who have come before. He's calling us into freedom. Let my people go, go. We don't go shine, never shade. Give me a papa God, make the heavens. If you don't say you know what trouble, let my people go, go. The blood, sweat, and the tears that we gathered through the years. If you don't say you know what trouble, let my people go, go. Wade in the water, we did wade in the water.
Tony Wafer, Los Angeles chapter, NASDAQ Network. He just came here to New York a couple days ago, had to stop by the House of Justice, and I sure enough found some justice, so I know I can leave here feeling like I got peace.
Rev, you know you were right there
From the beginning.
with the stuff that
Yep.
was going on in Brooklyn at
Yeah.
that time, at
Yeah.
Howard Beach. You
Yeah.
were right there.
He had in one of the early movies, he had my name. Then he put me in Malcolm, and I wasn't even old enough to know Malcolm. So we've been through it all.
For those who see Malcolm X, it's 3 hours. But fast forward to the scene with yourself,
Yep.
Bobby Seale.
Right. Bobby Seale, Denzel, and me.
Yeah.
Denzel was on the set.
Now let me ask a question.
Yep.
What was your weight on that scene?
I probably about 270. I was bigger then.
Yeah.
Still had the hair,
And
man.
you had the head on.
Yeah, it was.
Denzel, yourself, and Bobby Seale.
Yeah, all in one scene.
And also, there was no cut. So we went like this.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Only Spike could have done that.
It's my brother right here.
My baby.
Brooklyn's in the house.
Yes, sir.
Brooklyn's in the house.
BK. Many people cannot focus because they have not really come to terms with their calling and life purpose. In order to focus, you must also be clear on what you're focusing on.
So if you're not clear on your purpose, if you're not clear on your life's calling, then focus on seeking that. Because if you just read the ways and roads you traveled that you didn't even choose, that were sort of just laid out for you by God, in that it's telling you, speaking to you about what your purpose is and what you were born to do and be. I learned the things that I didn't plan had to be planned by God, and God's plan was directed toward God's purpose in my life. And I focus on that. Not focus on what others do, not focus on how well they're doing or bad they're doing, but focus on whether I'm in line and aligned with what I'm supposed to be about. And in order to move straight ahead, you have to be focused on the path you're running on.
You're live.
Keeping it real, keeping it real. I'm your host, Reverend Al Sharpton. 1-877-532-5797. Or you can go to live stream at nationalactionnetwork.net and post something on the message board. I see Phil Clark is posted, I don't fall into divisional lines and quote parties. They all hang out together, work together, eat lunch together, etc. They're all the same. In my opinion, all of them need to be checked and held accountable for their actions or the lack thereof, regardless of an affiliation with the party. I agree with you, Phil. I've ran for president as a Democrat. I've ran Senate Democrat, been a member of the Democratic Party, but I hold them to the same standard I do the Republicans. There's some Democrats that are outright wicked, wrong, not for the people, and there are some Republicans that have the right answers on some of the policies. I agree with you. James Thomas says, Rev, I just out in my backyard and got on my knees and look up to the heavens and prayed to God to please don't take another freedom fighter away from us. Praying for Reverend Jackson. And I really, really appreciate that and pray for that. Let me, by way of announcements, remind you every Saturday and Sunday to watch Politics Nation with Al Sharpton, and I'll be dealing certainly in depth with the shutdown, closing, what it means, what it doesn't mean, who are the victors, who are the villains. I have members of the Senate and the House on. I will also be dealing with the Epstein papers, some legal experts, on what these inferences mean so far, what they do not mean, and what we can expect from what is going to be dropped next week with all the files on Epstein is released. I'm also going to be dealing with how the redistricting is going to be projected on preserving voting rights in Maryland and other places. So you're not going to want to miss Politics Nation with Al Sharpton, live at 5 p.m. both days. Now, this Saturday starts MS Now being MS Now. MS Now. MSNBC becomes MS Now. Same station on your dial, same mission, but it's called MS Now. Saturday and Sunday be the first days of MS Now, and I'm on same time, 5 o'clock. Tell everybody and make sure. Don't assume everybody knows what you know. Well, what's MS Now? How do I get there? Same thing as MSNBC. They just changed the name after the company spinned off. And make sure you get people in. You that are in the New York area, meet me or beat me to the Saturday Action Rally, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. at the House of Justice. We're getting ready to deal with these upcoming private sector meetings, private corporations meetings. We not too public about it because I don't want them to know we come to the shareholders meetings because we bought some shares. Some were supposed to be next week. They put them now into December. I'm going to deal with that at the rally Saturday and how we deal with the incoming holidays. So make sure you're at the House of Justice, you that are in the New Jersey, Connecticut, New York area, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., House of Justice, 145th Street, Lenox Avenue in Harlem. And you that are not in the New York area, you can watch it live on Impact Television, the only black-owned national gospel national cable network, or you can watch it on live stream at nationalactionnetwork.net. All right, let's start. Let's go to the phones. Let's go to Rick in Germany. Rick, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
Good day, Reverend Sharpton.
Good day, Rick.
First of all, let me say that my thumbs and fingers are crossed for Reverend Jesse Jackson. But I want to press down on Sudan and Congo, what is going on there, and the lack of coverage in the black media. You know, Sudan and Congo are engaged in civil and military war, and they're engaged in rape as a weapon of war. Sudan and Congo, the Democratic Republic of Congo, they're getting worse, and the black media, black radio talk, black music radio, they don't report on this unless mainstream media does it first. I suggest to you, Reverend Sharpton, that civil and military war is going to come there in the United States. It's going to creep up on folks while most black media is pushing music and sports as a safe topic of discussion. I'm done, brother man.
All right, thank you for your call. I absolutely agree with you about Sudan and the Congo. I've been to both, and I intend to go back sooner than one thinks. I don't want to say in the air because I don't want to be stopped. But the butchery, mass murder that the world does not seem to be concerned about is startling. Absolutely important. Thank you, Rick. Let's take a break. I'm coming right back to you on the phones and on the message board. Keeping it real. Sharpton. Be right back.
So who is Al Sharpton anyway? Who is this 33-year-old preacher without a church?
A number of black New Yorkers as well. He is little more than a pudgy exhibitionist who can be counted on to show up, bullhorn in hand, at every racial incident.
I often quote Mark Twain saying, the two most important moments in life is the moment you are born and the moment you find out why you were born. I had a very troubling conversation the other day that prompted me to do this little video. Young man that I've known a while came to me and he was crushed. I mean, really crushed, because people were criticizing his work. He's in the ministry, but he's also an actor. And he said he couldn't understand why people were jumping all over, criticizing him, trying to find scandalous and derogatory things about him. And I told him, I said, you know, you very young. You don't know the road I've traveled. They call me everything but a child of God.
A blabbermouth, a loudmouth, too flamboyant, an agitator, a racist,
and
a race baiter.
Yeah, right. I was not defined by how others saw me. I was defined by how I saw myself and whether I was being true to myself. Some of you watching this don't like me. And it doesn't matter as long as I know what I'm doing and I like me for being real.
So I'm doing this video to say to you, whoever you are, and whatever you do, you may not be in ministry or social justice, none of this stuff, but don't live your life worried about opposition or people that don't like you. You can turn that around. Use me as an example. The same people that call me a scam artist, a con artist, a sellout, or racial hustler and all, I kept going. And the people I respected started respecting and publicly embracing my work.
When Coretta Scott King, the widow of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., had this to say about Al Sharpton.
A leader who has protested injustice with a passionate, unrelenting commitment to nonviolent action in the spirit and tradition of Martin Luther King Jr. And I am talking about your leader, our leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
The other thing that hasn't changed is the National Action Network's commitment to fight injustice and inequality here in New York City and across America. And that's not only a testament to Reverend Sharpton, it's a testament to all of you who are here tonight.
First and foremost, to Reverend Sharpton. I saw him when he first came on the scene, and I have marveled at his tenacity, at the development of his intellect, and his devotion to our movement, and much he has contributed to the world we are experiencing. I am honored, and I must say that when I had my debate with Dr. King on the issue of the church and religion, he didn't warn me that after his departure, his space would be filled by another preacher, and that preacher would be Al Sharpton.
All you want in life is people that matter to you to say you did all right. And more important, that you can look in the mirror and say you did all right.
Thank you, Rev. Thanks for that introduction. Look, we've known each other for a long time. I'm grateful not only for your leadership and partnership, but quite frankly, more importantly, for your friendship. And thanks to all of you, members of our nation's most important civil rights organization.
You have been, over all of your years, such an extraordinary leader. You are a voice of truth, a voice of conscience, a voice of practicality around what we must address and what we can do. And I thank you so much for your friendship.
I remember that most of the youth around Al's age, he was about 12, wanted to be like Connie Hawkins, a great basketball player, legend, or Earl the Pearl, or Clyde Frazier. Al wanted to be like Adam Powell, a powerful preacher with a social justice gospel. He was very close to, at that time, to Reverend William Augustus Jones, powerful preacher and social justice advocate, and Reverend Gardner Taylor State right down the street, and Bishop Washington, whose church he came from, and Reverend Sandy Ray. He wanted to be like these giant preachers. He wanted them to have the edge, however, of the King's social justice dimension. He wanted to be like them. Now he's one of them. Perhaps taller than most of them because of the risks he has taken and the reward God has given him with his gift. I remember so well that I first escorted him to jail. He was around 13 years old with the jail fighting the ANP. He was in the lineage of our struggle. He grew up in it. We didn't just see him on TV one night. He didn't happen. He came bottom up, not top down.
I had a thought this morning that I want to share with you about mentorship. I am able to do a lot of what I do because I had great mentors, but there are correct ways and incorrect ways to mentor people, in my opinion. I was mentored as a boy preacher by Bishop F.D. Washington, one of the great Pentecostal preachers of his time. Then Reverend William Jones, who became my pastor after Bishop Washington died, who was unquestionably in the top 5 black church ministers, theologians. Reverend Jesse Jackson, who I started my activism under his leadership, he and Reverend Jones. And I learned politics directly as a youth director from Shirley Chisholm. So even though I didn't finish college, I had the most unique education in the world from being exposed to giants. But the one thing I learned is as I grew older and people started coming younger than me and wanted me to teach and mentor them, the magic of the mentors I had is they did not want me to be their clone. They wanted me to learn things from them and use my own gifts and talents in my own unique way and let me do things on my own, because they knew that if I flopped in some things, it would teach me for the other things. They'll come and help me once I was down, but they were not going to have me avoid being down. And they were not going to impose themselves on me. Why am I saying
that? Keeping it real, I'm your host, Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. 1-877-532-5797. 1-877-532-5797. Twitter.com. The Rev Al. Twitter.com. The Rev Al. And of course, you can post on the live stream at www.nationalactionnetwork.net. nationalactionnetwork.net. And Mama Lola, is that Mama Lola says on the board, I love you, Reverend Al. Every time I see your face and hear your voice, I hear my grandparents' voice as they never left me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Much respect. Well, I take that as a compliment. Most people loved their grandparents. And if I can channel some of the wisdom I'm sure they had, then I feel blessed and highly favored. Thank you for that. Let's go back to the phone. Let me go to Brother Jacob in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, at the word. Brother Jacob.
Reverend Al Sharpton and your worldwide audience, I say peace be unto you.
And peace to you.
The prayer for Reverend Jackson, I pray that the Almighty make his way easy, And to our brother, that was online that said that he prayed that God don't take another one of our black leaders. I say to the brother, be comforted, because we know his will won't be done on earth as it is in heaven. And as a Muslim, I say, amen, the same thing, right? So we don't have to worry about that. God is in control at all times, and he good all the times, I was taught. But, far as this American shutdown being over, I'm thankful, because we don't want to see suffering of the American people. The Democrats made their point, and it's never going to get off the radar. If you're looking at a radar screen and they say, we got an oncoming something other coming at us at 52,000 miles, they know that. So that this healthcare thing it ain't off the map. It's going to be, and you can't get rid of stuff like that. So it's going to be coming, and the Republicans are going to have the chance, as Mystical say. I like to go to music since I was grown up around Philly International Music and played with them boys. Mystical from New Orleans down there, he had in one of his songs, show me what you're working with. And the Republicans are going to get a chance to show America what you're working with when you're taking their health care and letting them die. And in time, if you don't think that people are woke enough to understand that when it's hitting their pockets, then I got something to say. You're crazy. But the music thing, it's always something in music. That's why I love music. When I was playing with Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes, right, featuring Teddy Pendergrass was there. Matter of fact, it was the last tune I did traveling with Harold Melvin. It was Bad Luck. And it looked like the Trump people, they running into some bad luck, and it's good for them. You know what I mean? Because, again, these Epstein files, I don't care what he do, ain't going nowhere, right? And the American people want the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Is there anything wrong with that, Reverend Al?
Nothing wrong with that at all. Nothing wrong with that at all.
Brother Rick from Germany, he always say, I'm done, brother, man.
All right. Thank you
for your call. Let me go to my dear friend, the activist extraordinaire in Chicago, Sister Pam. Pam.
Hi, Reverend Sharpton. Am I coming in clear?
You coming in clear.
Okay, I want to make sure because I hear a little clicking on my end, but there just might be something going on here. So first and foremost, sending all prayers up for Reverend Jackson. And, I've talked about what civil rights leaders mean to me, Reverend Sharpton. And he sacrificed, and his family, you sacrificed, all civil rights leaders make a sacrifice. And I think if we can do 1/8 of what you all do, we would be much further along in terms of civil rights, fighting for freedom, and having policies in place that deliver for black people. And when black people benefit, the world benefits.
That's right.
And that's what you all as leaders have been. I mean, you benefit the world. And that's my true belief, and I hold to that. So, and certainly we've got to continue this fight for all those who have gone on, because we have a person in the White House who just absolutely detests and hates black people. And that is evidenced by his behavior, his policies, and his actions when his father was alive, and he's continued that legacy.
Mm-hmm.
And I have no doubt that his children will continue that legacy. So I'm going to focus on two things, Reverend Sharpton, if I may.
Go ahead.
The shutdown. Correct me, push back if I'm not factual. The shutdown occurred because the Republicans, those rogue Republicans, wanted to give the wealthy, and they did, a permanent tax cut, Reverend Sharpton. They made the temporary tax cuts for millionaires and billionaires permanent. See, we need people to understand that. And then when the Democratic Party, in the same session, came back and said, well, we need permanent tax credits, health tax credits for the poor, working class, and those who are on Affordable Care Act, Obamacare.
Right.
They said no, and Speaker Johnson then went into recess for that reason, and because he didn't want to release the Epstein files.
Right.
So people need to lay this squarely at the lap of the Republican Party. And let me just say this. Go back and look at any policies that the Republicans have put forth and see how beneficial it was to the people. You talk about Medicare. Guess why you have to pay 20%? That's because of the Republicans put that in there. Why do you think you can get extra benefits, Reverend Sharpton, with Medicare Advantage, but not regular Medicare?
Right.
That's because of the Republican legislation. See, people, just go back and look at the legislation. COVID, we had the opportunity. Nancy Pelosi was pushing $2,000 per person. They, in the Democratic Party, they wanted to do, I think it was either $400 or $600. So the compromise ended up being $1,200, when people needed a lot more during COVID. So I'm just saying, it's all evidence. So I put that on the table so people know facts. I'm not dealing in fiction.
No, the
lies.
fact of the matter is they went into shutdown because of exactly what Pam said. They wanted permanent tax credits and tax loopholes for the rich, none for the working class and the poor, and not making more permanent or extending the Affordable Care Act past the deadline, where if it expired, which it is upon to do at the end of the year, the premiums will balloon out of control. Some are already ballooning. That is why we had to shut down. And I think that your wisdom in saying that is as outraged as I am and angry I am at the 8 defecting Democrats. Let's not forget it was the Republicans that caused the shutdown.
Thank you. And that's all I want people. Just go with the facts and how we even got to this point. Now, let me really shift. I detest rapists, pedophiles, people who commit incest, sexual assaulters, molesters. Call it what you want. We know that this person in the White House was best friends with a child rapist. You all who voted for him, you know what he did. Now we have the Epstein information coming out from the
emails,
from the estate of Epstein, the emails.
Right.
See, people who voted for him knew he was disgusting when he talked about his daughter. He'd have sex. I mean, he'd date his daughter. You have daughters, Reverend Sharpton. Have you ever looked at your beautiful daughters and said, I'll date them?
Yeah.
And then brag about how sexy they are?
No, that's as perverted and sick as I can imagine. That's sick.
But yet, people still voted for him. So these are my words and my opinions. If you voted for this person in the White House, there is some part of your psyche that is okay with molesting girls and raping women. I'm saying this, Reverend Sharpton. We know what Epstein did. And we know that his best friend, who is Trump, knew about this. Now, we have a sex ring of millionaires and billionaires. It's time to go after them. And also, Reverend Sharpton, you know Virginia Giuffre, and I hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly.
Yeah, who was the fiance for a minute for, I think, Donald Jr.?
Yeah, well, she was the victim. She was one of the sex trafficked.
Okay, all right. I got the wrong one.
Suicide.
All right.
Virginia
Right.
Giuffre. I hope
Right.
I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Right, that's the one that
Her
committed
book is
suicide
out.
and wrote a book. Yeah.
Yes, her book is out, Nobody's Girl. I'm encouraging people to read it. Now, Reverend Sharpton, what I haven't seen the author of that book on any of the major talk shows. So that's just suspicious to me. So we'll see what ends up happening. But in the book, she said her first encounter with Ghislaine and I think Epstein together, they both raped her.
Yeah, this is what the victim wrote in the book. That's correct.
Thank you. That is in the book. So now, here's what I'm saying. You have, for me, the Judge Kaplan said it, you have a rapist in the White House. I don't know not one person at the sound of my voice who wants to live near a rapist or wants a rapist in their house. But somehow, because 77+ million people voted for him, it's okay.
And let me remind you, Happiness Donuts is on our message board saying, don't forget he said he would grab women by the blank. You know what? She's saying that, yes, caller Pam, talk it out. I mean, you voted for a guy, not that somebody said on an email that he said this. They played the videotape of him saying it.
Thank you. And when he talked about Virginia, I'm going to use her first name only because I don't want to, mispronounce her last name. When he talked about Virginia, and he meaning Trump, he said, well, Epstein, I got mad because he stole her from me. As if she was a piece of property.
Right. That's right.
I mean, I'm asking people to delve deep in this. This is a sickness. And you have millionaires and billionaires who are being protected by the rogue Republicans as well as the person in the White House. This is shameful. That's why from day one, Reverend Sharpton, I never stopped calling him the adjudicated sexual abuser that he is, and the fact that Judge Kaplan said he committed rape.
That's right.
Of E.J. Carroll. That is the absolute truth. So you all need to ask yourselves, if your daughters were sex trafficked by Epstein and passed around globally, would you still be voting for him?
That's right.
Or you don't have enough compassion to understand that these victims want justice. See, it's disgusting.
They want justice, and they want to see with the justice that there be punishment so other pedophiles and perverts will know they can't get away with it. If he gets away with it, it sends a message to these other perverts and pedophiles that you can get away with it. The reason for punishment is not only to punish those that did the deed that deserve the punishment, but to tell others you better not do this. I don't care how sick you are, because you will be held accountable.
And thank you for saying that, Reverend Sharpton. So when I hear all these big bad people brag about, oh yeah, well, I supported him, what I translate that into is you supported a rapist, and you are okay with that. That's what I hear, and that's what I'm pushing back against.
You're
we have
correct.
to expose this. The Ring is still alive. It didn't die with Epstein.
Oh no,
Somebody
that's why they want to hide these all of these files, because they know that some of them got to be in them files. But thank you. That's why I love going to Sister Pam. That's the extraordinary activist in Chicago, the real deal. Let's take a break. Be right back. Keeping it real. Sharpton. Be right back.
But the fact of the matter is, Rosa Parks was not only the mother of the modern civil rights movement, she was the mother of this nation. Why would you say that, Sharpton? Because you called George Washington the father of the nation, but when he became father, we wasn't included in the nation. Women were not included in the nation. The first time we had a parent in this nation is when all of us was included, and Rosa Parks did that on December 1st, 1955. I heard somebody say Jim Crow is who she fought, and Jim Crow is still around. But Jim Crow is old. That's not who I'm mindful of today. The problem is Jim Crow has sons. The one we got to battle is James Crow Jr. Esquire. He's a little more educated. He's a little slicker. He's a little more polished. But the results are the same. He doesn't put you in the back of the bus. He just puts referendums on the ballot to end affirmative action when you can't go to school. He doesn't call you a racial name. He just marginalizes your existence. He doesn't tell you that he's set against you. He sets up institutional racism, where you have a nation respond looking for weapons in Iraq that are not there, but can't see a hurricane in Louisiana that is there. James Crow Jr. Esquire. That's who we got to fight. And if we are to win, if we are to really memorialize Rosa Parks, she would tell us to do in the generation of his son what she and Dr. King did to his daddy. They didn't talk a fight, they fought the fight. They didn't show up at funerals, they showed up on the picket line and the march line and the jailhouse. It amazes me that we sit there acting like we don't have work to do. And that many of us in our own community are mocking her memory. They formed a movement when they had none of what we got. You realize that Dr. King and Dr. Abernathy and them formed a boycott after Rosa Parks, where people stayed off the bus for a year, went to rallies every night, and they never had email, never had a cell phone, never could go online. Here you got 2 cell phones in your pocket, emails, computers at the house, and can't even get a block association meeting together. We've got so much more that they gave us, and we're doing so much less with it. They went to vote when people were threatening their lives. Medgar Evers was shot dead in his driveway, left 3 children inside that never knew how it was to have a father in their adult years, died to give us the right to vote, Pregnant women march through the streets of Birmingham. They sick police dogs on them to give us the right to vote. 4 little girls bombed in a church in Birmingham, Alabama to give us the right to vote. And here you are 40 years later in Detroit, Michigan. No dogs biting you, no bombs going off, no bullets, too lazy and ungrateful. Making mockery of her memory. Making mockery of her memory. Nobody should have to beg you to vote. Nobody should have to beg you to stand up and protect the rights that they died and suffered to give us. You can't take care of one thing on the ballot in Michigan when they had to change the laws of all 50 states. You complaining about one referendum when they did a whole revolution and never fired one shot. And then you're turning around on each other. Why do I want my daughters to visit that stone? Because I want them to know black women are not hoes. You have music companies selling misogynist records to our children. Black womanhood was Rosa Parks sitting in dignity. She wasn't break dancing. She wasn't talking about pimp me out. She made the world respect her people. So I want to thank Reverend Jackson and Mrs. Jackson and others that taught us a little younger who Rosa was, and we got to pass that on. I want to challenge everybody here today that when we leave here, you ought to make a Rosa resolution. You ought to make one commitment in her name to yourself. That you're going to either join some organization or you're going to stand for some policy. You ought to make a Rosa resolution. You ought to resolve that you're going to do something that'll make a difference because we're here because she made a difference. Most people come and go and we never come to say goodbye because their hellos didn't mean anything to us. But we're here because she touched every one of us. And we need to make a Rosa resolution. I said to some of the young rappers the other day talking to me about, well, you get on us about calling women out their names. I said you need to come and know the story of a dignified woman. They make the excuse, Mayor Kilpatrick said, well, you know, we love Aretha and that generation, but we just kick it like we see it. We just mirrors that reflect what we see. But there's something strange about that. I use a mirror every morning. But I don't get up out the bed, hair all over my head, sleep around my eyes, slobber around my mouth, walk outside talking about I'm going to keep it real. Mirrors are not only to reflect what you see, mirrors are to correct what you see. You need to make a Rosa resolution that we're going to correct what we see. We're going to keep the fight going. And we're going to have James Crow Jr. Esquire know that we are the children of those that change the world. My Rosa resolution is they won't have no rest until we finish the fight. Wherever I see an injustice, I'm going to stand up. If I can't stand up, I'm going to speak out. And if I can't speak out, I'm going to do like a Rosa. I'm going to get me a chair and just sit in the way.
We have a young man in the studio who I think is an astounding young brother because of his youth. He's only 19 years old, and he's accomplished a lot, and he's here to make a presentation to James Brown, and we'd like to welcome him warmly. His name is Al Sharpton. How about it for Al Sharpton? Al is the National Director of the National Youth Movement Incorporated. Right, Al?
That's right.
And what do we have here?
Well, we come to break tradition. We know that in the recording industry that they give a gold record to those that achieve a million seller. But we view your million seller payback as a black record because it is relevant and says many of the things that young blacks have tried to say and could not musically express in our own little way. And we feel the payback is sort of like the theme song of Young Black America in 1974. Yeah.
Now, before you go into the title tune of your latest album, you have a special guest.
Yeah, I do have a special guest, a young lady.
Al Sharpton. You're live. Keeping it real. Keeping it real. I am your host, Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. 1-877-532-5797 1-877-532-5797. And I see on the message board, Happiness Donut says we need Spike Lee or Forrest Whitaker to put together an autobiography of Jesse Jackson, but I don't know who would play him. That's an interesting point. I know somebody was talking about doing a series on him. They were in touch with me, and I don't know where it went. And I know when they did the documentary on me 2 years ago, Loudmouth, they were talking about also doing one on him. I've not seen the documentary. Now, Abby Phillip did come out with a book about 2-3 weeks ago on his 84-88 campaign, which was a good book that I helped her with the project. But what he established in his story needs to be told. So I agree with your Happiness. I think Happiness Donuts is right on point. And I think I'm going to call Spike. Spike called me the other day. He's coming serve turkey. Well, not only turkey, he's coming to serve hot meal on Thanksgiving Day at the House of Justice. We do it every Thanksgiving and every Christmas. And he called me last week. He said, Red Mal, don't y'all feed people on Thanksgiving Day? I said, yeah. He said, well, I'm coming 2 or 3 hours of my Thanksgiving Day. I want to help serve the people this year. And I thought that was great. So I'm going to talk to Spike about that. Let me go to Cedric in Florida. Cedric, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
Good afternoon, Reverend Al.
Good afternoon.
How are you? God is able. And we say that certainly pertains to the Reverend Dr. Jesse Jackson. You know that we keep hope alive for him over there in Chi-Town.
Yeah.
And we state 2 or 3 things and let things go. And that is to say, first of all, pertaining to Trump, and I'm a preacher. I stand on the shoulders of great preachers, such as one of my mentors, the late, great Reverend Dr. Matt King Carter, and Victor Curry.
Oh, yeah.
I'm from Miami, but I'm pastoring up here in Central Florida. I'm always every day.
You know what you're talking about. You're talking about some masters there. Yes, sir.
Come on, Doc. Have mercy, God. But listen here, Trump may, and I'm going to say my 2 or 3 things and keep it moving. Trump may tear down the East Wing, but he may not be the one to dance in at first. I'm going to say that because of the fact that whatever God does in the end, God is the only one that can take a crooked stick and hit a straight lick.
Yes,
God
sir.
is the only one that can write straight on a crooked line. Back in the days when Trayvon Martin in Sanford, Florida, which is only 3 hours away from that compound of Mar-a-Lago where him and E.T., Epstein, and Trump did they do. God only knows. Who knows what will come after this? God has a way of working things out. And this is, for us, is that when God does what he's doing, unknown to us, is this. When we do what we can do, God will do what we can't do.
Right.
We cannot ask God to do what we can't do when we won't do what we can. And so to the 8 of them that bowed out from the ranks, they must have an I must spirit or rebuild it, or even those that still in Congress, I must. Jesus said 3 things. He said, I must be about my Father's business at 12. He told the Pharisees, I must need go through Samaria. And then he told the disciples, he says, I must work the work of him that sent me while it is day. I must be so much into this whenever you take office or do whatever because you're for the people and because you're represented by the people. Trump can't hire you or fire you. This right here. When the days come and what you want your obituary and your tombstone, your mausoleum or your headstone to read is that he had or she had an I must spirit. Take it on from there. Bless you, Doc.
Bless you, and thank you for your call. Patricia Ruth Harmon writes on our message board, thank Reverend Al Sharpton for your dedication and services. You render for the movement of justice and civil rights movements. May God continue to protect, strengthen, and inspire you to stand up for what is right. I appreciate that, Patricia, more than you know. Let me go to Super is it Racidi? Racidi.
Now?
Yes, in Philadelphia,
How you doing?
WURD. I'm doing well.
Oh, okay, that's what's up, brother. You know, this is Super Racide from Detroit. You said Philadelphia?
Oh, that's what they put on the board. I'm sorry, from Detroit. Okay.
Yeah. The capital D in Motown. I'm also known as Lightning Rod, too, as well. One of your favorite callers, Rev. I know you like me, man.
Well, if you
So
give,
anyway.
whoa. If you're going to call, you can't call under different names because then I will not let you call at all. We'll put you on because I like to have the exchange with you. But if you feel you got to play games to get on, you won't get on this show.
No, I don't play no games. Those are my
then
entertainment
why are you
names.
giving?
I'm-
We're not your fans. I don't know your entertainment name. So you give me the one name you give every day, and you on. You give me another name and tell me that you're the other person, you won't be on. So call me when you straight on who you are. Thank you for your call. I don't play games. Let's go to Henry in Baltimore, Maryland. Henry, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
Yeah. I had some reflections of Jesse Jackson. I read some of his books in public libraries and some of his sermons. I listened to his radio show here in Baltimore. Comes on Sundays. Rainbow Push. Some of the things that he did. Nice, remarkable man, and things like that. And I hear you too on the radio and the information you bring to the public. I want to comment on that.
All right.
And the political thing, I'm glad the shutdown is over and get on with business. Thanks for taking my call.
All right. Thank you for your call. Let's get ready to take a break. It is time to go to Policy Hour. I'm going to get Attorney Jennifer Jones-Austin on. Let's break down the legalities of what's come out on these Epstein files. Let's go down on the legislative policy side of the shutdown and the return, because everybody's not going to get everything right away. What does all this mean? Let's get into our policy day at 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797. Sharpton, keeping it real. Be right back. Dallas.
Yes.
Let me
I've been traveling around the country talking to the radio announcers, the church people and the street people, telling them that God has smiled on me. God has smiled on you if you got breath in your body. If he woke you up this morning and started you on your way. But I want to tell you some stories of people that God smiled on. We know the story of Dr. Martin Luther King, how he started way back in Montgomery, Alabama in 1955, trying just to get dignity, trying to get respect. And he went all the way to the mountaintop. But he didn't forget about the brothers in the valley. He didn't forget about those trapped in the alley. And I hear Brother Martin King say, God has smiled on me. He's been good to me. Let me tell you, God has smiled on me. It's been so good to me. Then I see as Dr. King went on, another man stepping to the forefront by the name of John F. Kennedy, who rose up and said, let's not stand back. Let's not wait for a handout. Let's wait for a way out. He said, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. He said, don't us gravel and don't us moan, because God done smile on us. Let me say it. God has smiled on me. He has set me free. Let me say it. God has smiled on me. One more time. I want to say, I'll say God has smiled on me. He has set me free. Get up. God has smiled on me. He's been good. Then I went on backstage at the Apollo Theater and I saw a man come out. They call him the King of Soul, James Brown. And James Brown said, Reverend, don't you worry. I started out as a shoe shine boy. I started out as a convict. I started out uneducated. But I learned to sing my song. And I sung it all over the world. I told him it was a man's world. I told him about the big payback. I told him Papa got a brand new bag. And all over the world, they can hear my voice. But Reverend, don't you frown. Don't you bow your head. Tell him what you told me, Brother Brown. I said, God has smiled on me. He has set me free. Yeah. He has set me free. God smiled on me. It's been so good to me. Then I went home and I told my mother what Brown told me. And she said, son, even though we don't have much, we don't need relief. All we need is belief. And she said, he didn't tell you no lie, because the Lord will take care of you. God sits high, but he looks down low. And every time you get discouraged, every time you're burning down, all you have to do is think of the things that God made a way for you and look toward the heavens. Lift your eyes to the hills and say, God, 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 don't smile on me. Now then, the God has smiled on me. He has set me free. God has smiled on me. That has been so good to me. Yes, he has. I say, God smiled on me. He has set me free. And I know all over the country, smile on me. We need jobs. We need a way to make it. We need help. We need jobs. We need a way to make some money to feed our families and raise our bread. We need a way to survive, so we don't need crime as a survival kit. We just need a little bit. But don't give the hope up. Don't lose the faith, because God will smile on you. God will give you the strength. God will make a way for you. Adam Clayton Powell said, keep the faith. Keep the faith, baby. I hear Robert Kennedy saying that it's not the dream of, but it's the dream that'll live on forever. Just know that God will smile on you. Dr. King had a dream. Dr. King said, I went to the mountaintop, but I didn't stop there. I looked over and saw the promised land. I hear Brother Malcolm saying, don't sit on the stoop. Stand up and be a man. Respect yourself. Be somebody. Then I hear the brothers in the Hispanic community say, I'm going to stand up and be a man. I'm going to gonna do the best I can. I had a reaper say, I don't care what time you come home, but just give me some respect when you get there. Yeah, Lord, now God has smiled on me. He has set me free. God smiled on me. You've been so good to me. Sit down. And as we move on in history, let us remember that if we look to God, God has the answer to all of our problems. God is still the same God he was years ago, and we can still make it. We can still hold on like Frederick Douglass did. We can still keep him on like Martin Luther King did. We can still ride on the way everyone that made it did. They didn't have much, but they had a whole lot of faith. They didn't have money, but they had a lot of determination. We know that God will look out for his children, that God will make a way out of no way. If you just keep the faith and refuse to lose, and God will make a way, because God's children don't have color. God's children just have will. And I can still hear somewhere in my mind James Brown say, God has smiled on me. He has set me free. Let me say that. Yeah, Lord. Yeah, Lord. Yeah,
Hey, what's up? They got, they're doing, thank you. They're doing What's on Your Mind? Yeah. All right, then, we got a birthday this week. I got to talk about that.
Oh, no.
Happy birthday this weekend. And Carrie White's birthday, right?
Corey's birthday is today.
Yeah, and I got to tell Reverend Birthday ready Daniel 5th chapter. I want him to read. And I'm ready. Got a message from today, so we'll be on the air in what? Half hour.
Half hour.
You should tune in to the WBLS 107.5 FM and National Impact and www.nationalnetwork.net. All right, I'm ready. Make sure you operate on time or I'll tell them I owe y'all.
You live.
Keeping it real, keeping it real. I am your host, Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. 1-877-532-5797. 1-877-532-5797. And we're joined, as we are every Thursday for the last 90 minutes of the show, by our policy wonk. She is the CEO of the Protestant Welfare Agencies in New York and is the vice chairman of the National Board of the National Action Network, Attorney Jennifer Jones Austin. How you doing, Jenny?
Okay. I'm okay. Good to hear your voice, sir, and glad to be with you. Doing okay. Lots going on.
a lot is going on. Before I get into it, I know you and I talked earlier this morning about our prayers for Reverend Jesse Jackson, who's been hospitalized, and been back and forth talking with Jesse Jr. and Yusef all day. And he's stable but weak. And I just thought you may want to say some things because it was your father, Reverend Dr. William A. Jones Jr., who headed the Operation Breadbasket chapter in New York, that introduced me to your father. And I was a 12-year-old boy preacher. And he was Reverend Jackson's co-worker and co-leader in Operation Breadbasket. So you may want to, as someone that has direct bloodline and spiritual line, want to say some things about Reverend.
So I'll quickly share that some of my first memories of him as a little, very, very, very little young girl was him showing up at our home in overalls, not in a suit. And I was used to ministers, especially up in here in the Northeast, wearing suits. But I remember that I was really not taken aback, but there was something that was kind of exciting and energetic about this minister who was fighting for justice, and he was wearing denim jeans. And then, of course, as I got older and I just saw him come into his full platform and seeing him stand up on issues of economic injustice and seeing him be a world leader, what your mind always goes to is kind of like who you saw and how you saw that person grow and progress. On a personal note, I'll also add that one of the things that just always amazed me about him whenever he would come to New York or we would see him in other places across the country was how he was always so personal and warm and engaging. He would, with all that was going on, and he's still like this when I see him, with all that is going on and all of the matters of the world that he has attended to, and he still has stayed engaged. He always, asks about my family, asks about my mother, talks about my mother, about my siblings, and about my dad. And it was like he kept up with us, and he just showed us the depth of this individual, that he could sit high, but he could engage at all levels. And I think about his children right now. I think about, how you kind of have to lean into the wonderful memories and what people have poured into you. And I think about all that he's poured into you, Reverend Sharpton. And so my thoughts and my prayers are with them right now. And just that, embrace the blessing of this moment, wherever it takes them and wherever it leads them. But know that they have in their dad a man who has stayed on the front lines fighting for justice from a very early age and has never, 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 never moved from his post. Just he's a tremendous blessing.
Okay, thank you for that. Put on your legal scholar hat now. The Epstein emails that have already been, one that has already gone public by the Epstein estate. We've not seen the emails in their totality from the Department of Justice, but we've seen now 4 or 5 emails that the estate put out. That seems to me, as a layman, you're the lawyer, to really strongly infer that Donald Trump at least knew about what was going on, and that Donald Trump had concern about being exposed to what was going on, and that he spent a considerable amount of time one day with one of the alleged victims, though it didn't allege he did it sexually, but they spent time together. Tell us, as one who has been in the law, and if you were building up a case, how important were these already divulged emails? How important would that be toward framing where this can possibly go?
So, first and foremost, we now understand why, a couple of things, why Trump was, essentially was probably allowing this shutdown to go on longer. Like, we now have evidence that substantiates he would rather people go without food, go without health care, than he'd be exposed. And he knew that to end the government shutdown and then have to bring back the Arizona congressperson to be sworn in would then mean that immediately following, we would have a measure to release the files. And so now there are enough signatures to call for the full release of the Epstein files, but at least now we have the release of that which was in Epstein's estate. Now, what it tells us is that Trump did, as you said, spend several hours with what appears to have been a sex traffic victim. It doesn't say that he was with young underage girls, but that he knew about the girls. That's what seems to be inferred. We don't yet have all of the emails. Now, to have known about the girls doesn't necessarily mean that there's anything criminal in nature. So we'd have to see whether or not any of the files that will likely come out in the next week to 2 weeks suggest that there is knowledge of and engagement with the young girls, which would then be a sex crime. And, depending upon the ages, he could still be liable, because when somebody's underage, the statute of limitations doesn't end, immediately. And,
all right, but let me ask you, let me put a pin right there. If he did not engage in sexual activity himself, did he have an obligation to report sexual activities with minors if he knew that was the case?
So, how do I say this? He could be viewed as an accomplice or participating in a conspiracy to commit a crime. And so we'd have to see what were, what the emails or whatever documents tell us about how much he knew and what type of action he did or did not take. So it's like there's enough if there's enough in there that would indicate that he had very clear knowledge that people were breaking the law and that he did nothing about it. It's not necessarily a case that you always have to report a crime, but it will come down to, did any of his actions or inactions suggest that he was being negligent in his duties, or he was participating, not actually engaging in the activities, but he was an accomplice to allowing something to happen. So I think we have to look at what ultimately comes out to be able to discern definitively whether or not there is an actionable crime, especially if he wasn't an officer or a government official at the time.
Let's take a break. We'll be right back. Keeping it real. Sharpton, Jones, Austin. We're going to open up the phones. Be right back.
We have a young man in the studio who I think is an astounding young brother because of his youth. He's only 19 years old, and he's accomplished a lot, and he's here to make a presentation to James Brown, and we'd like to welcome him warmly. His name is Al Sharpton. How about if Al Sharpton? Al is the national director of the National Youth Movement Incorporated. Right, Al?
That's right.
And what do we have here?
Well, we come to break tradition. We know that in the recording industry that they give a gold record to those that achieve a million seller. But we view your million seller payback as a black record because it is relevant and says many of the things that young blacks have tried to say and could not musically express in our own little way. And we feel the payback is sort of like the theme song of Young Black America in 1974. Yeah.
Now, before you go into the title tune of your latest album, you have a special guest.
Yeah, I do have a special guest, a young lady.
That's going to perform with you?
Yeah, she's going to.
Joining James Brown, Muhammad Ali, and myself now from New York City is the Reverend Al Sharpton. And Mr. Brown, James, I'd like to ask you about this young man, how you came to meet him, and what the National Youth Movement, which he represents, is all about. Tell me something about
it. Teaching young kids the right way to go, and the things to be involved in education. Don't be a dropout, which is one thing I'm very much behind. Unless kids have guidance, they have no place to go. And the idea is to try to mold them. I mean, we think of anything, we think of it as a baby. And what we mold them to be is what it will be later on. He used to stand at my back door, and he believed in what I said, the Don't Be a Dropout program, and the fact of helping kids and giving them the right idol and the right image to go with, cleaning, grooming, and wanting to work, wanting to be something. I started as a kid, a juvenile delinquent, and everything. Had no model. And I was able to be a model for a young man like this. And what he turned out to be is a minister, and he preaches the right thing, and I'm for him 1,000%. I'm for everything he's about.
Mr. Sharpton, how national right now is the National Youth Movement? Is it something new? Has it been going on for a while? Do you have a stated number of members? Tell me something about it.
Well, we don't really get into a numbers game because that's been a trick that has been played for the last 20 years. What we're basically interested in doing is saying to young people of impoverished backgrounds that there are people like a Muhammad Ali and a James Brown that represents hope to us. Because these people, despite all of the social odds, despite the unemployment statistics, despite the lack of education in their day, were able to grow and be something that we can be proud of. A man like me didn't have a father at home, but I had a James Brown to look up to and would want to sing and dance like him, or Muhammad Ali, who I saw stand up and give away millions of dollars of stamps to the government so that I would have a right to come 10 or 20 years later and try to fight for my kids. So what we're saying is there are symbols and images that kids can look up to and not have to throw a brick through a window, but that can work by the sweat of their brow and succeed, just like these two gentlemen did.
But considering the numbers of young kids today, and Rev, there are hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands of kids who really are in hopeless and desperate situations, is it enough to just offer them an example?
You say hopeless, though. Not hopeless.
Well, let's say, to them, 10, 11, 12-year-old kids,
it's never hopeless. There's no such thing as hopeless. It's never hopeless. When I got 8 to 16 years for breaking and entering as a kid because I was hungry, and here I am today, it's not hopeless. Don't say hopeless. Then we're carving out. I don't believe in hopeless. Don't you think it's hope? If you believe in something, try it. No such hopeless. I don't believe in hopeless. We're not going to go with that. And I think he's not about teaching them how to get out and fight for themselves. That's what it's about. No, it's not hopeless. Everybody has a cause and everything, but everybody want to live. And I think living is what we're about. We're not going to teach dying. Hopeless is dying.
I agree with you 100%, James. But what I'm trying to ask here is simply saying you too can be a James Brown or a Muhammad Ali. Is that enough to give a kid who's hungry, who doesn't know where his next meal is coming?
I'll say it.
Give him somewhere to go.
I think it's awful weak to tell a kid you can be a James Brown, one of the greatest entertainers in the world, and me, one of the greatest fighters. And like you said, the hundreds of thousands of millions of kids that need a break. You can't have that many great people, but they can get educated. They can go to school. They can learn. I'd like to say one thing. We have crime today. It's a big problem. I think they took a national vote on what the people want the government to spend most of the money on, and crime was over national defense. Worrying about Russia, China, outside enemies, they're worrying about inside crime. We have crime today, all type prostitution, murder, exploitation, degradation, and wars of all kinds. And I'm going to tell you why everything's happening. And I think if you're intelligent, you agree with it. If we were riding an airplane and the two pilots died for some reason, is there anybody in this room that can go in the cockpit, pick up the radio, start working it, bring the plane in, depressurize it as a land, and make it, and late at night on a stormy day? You couldn't do it.
Right.
Well, but if you learn how to fly, or if they show you how to fly, you can. Well, since God made the world and God made us, He sent the Bible, the Torah, the Quran, sent Moses, Jesus, Noah, to show us how to run the world. And God left His laws. If we don't follow His laws, then we crash.
Let me say this, though, Mr. Snyder, in response to your question to Mr. Brown, Mr. Ali. Yes, it is enough to begin with showing them an example, because before you get to education, you need motivation. If you don't have motivation to get out of the bed, you won't make school or the party. And what we try to do by showing a James Brown or Muhammad Ali is not that you can be a great champion maybe like Ali or a great entertainer like James Brown, but if you use the same initiative that they did to make him get up 5 in the morning and run 10 miles and just have a dream and to come back 3 times and accomplish that dream, to have more hits than anybody in the world, even when the music world wouldn't give him credit for it in terms of a James Brown. If you had that initiative to keep working at whatever it is that you're going to do, you can succeed. And what we're saying to them is you may not reach the plateau of public prominence of them, but if you can reach the personal discipline and personal motivation of them, you can reach a plateau in your life. Because it's not about looking for a government handout, it's about looking for a way out, as James Brown said.
All right, and then how receptive are the young people that you tell this to?
Very receptive.
Really?
Very receptive.
Very simple. I think that people have misunderstood that most people of impoverished and depressed areas are not looking for the government to give them something. They just want a chance. I remember when I was a little boy, James Brown used to sing, I don't want nobody to give me nothing, just open the door, I'll get it myself. Well, that's all people want now is a chance. Let me.
Keeping it real, keeping it real. I am your host, Reverend Jesse Jackson is in our prayers. I'm your host, Reverend Al Sharpton. Attorney Jennifer Jones-Austin is our co-host. Jenny, let's go to the phones. Let's go to Kevin in Delaware. Kevin, you're keeping it real with Sharpton and Jones-Austin.
Good afternoon, Reverend Sharpton and Miss Austin. Thank you for taking my call. And first of all, my family and I want to express our prayers and hopefully a recovery for for Reverend Jesse Jackson.
Thank you.
And what I wanted to touch on is, I don't know if anyone brought this subject up, but I want to touch on the similarities between the deaths of, I think, was Sandra Bland and Jeffrey Epstein. It just seems sort of peculiar that she was arrested on false charges, and then she was found hung in her prison cell. And the same thing with Jeffrey Epstein. He was rearrested and convicted, and he was found hung in his prison cell. No one even spoke about the two guards who were supposed to be watching over him, or the guards that were supposed to be watching over her. I mean, I can't understand how something like this could happen in high-profile cases like this.
Okay.
That was my question.
Well, go ahead, Jenny, if you want to answer.
You know, what I will say to you, I served as the chair of the New York City Board of Correction. And during my tenure, sadly, there were several cases, and the Board of Correction oversees the New York City jails. And during my time as chair, there were several cases of people in the New York City jail system, Rikers and elsewhere, who hanged themselves. And we had to go back and look at the footage each time. And often what you would see is that people, the guards, were actually walking by the cells or were not looking into the cells as the people were engaged in the process of hanging themselves. And it's not something you do in a matter of seconds. It takes time. And, there have been criminal proceedings and civil proceedings brought where people have been tried and convicted and civilly prosecuted, and the families prevail. My point to you is that whenever I hear of a high-profile person hanging themselves in prison or dying by some other means, I, too, always look at this and question it, because when you have high-profile people, you're constantly watching them. And very often they put high-profile people on suicide watches. And so I hear what you're saying, and I concur. It is suspect when things like this happen.
Okay, thank you.
And let me say that I think it is, as you said, suspect, but I also think that it is, I don't want to give the inference, at least and from me anyway, that I feel that there was any connection between what happened with Bland and what happened with Epstein. Totally different situations.
Yeah.
And not connected at all, in my judgment. Let me go to Reverend Pless in Atlanta, Georgia, WAOK. Reverend Pless.
Good afternoon, Reverend.
Good afternoon.
And Sister Austin. Thank you so much for taking my call, Reverend, and thank you for all that you do. We will continue to keep Reverend Jackson in prayer. I did have the pleasure as a young preacher of shaking hands with him when he came here to Atlanta years ago, and he spoke during one of the conventions that we had, outside of Atlanta, in Macon, Georgia. I also saw that Sister Abby Phillips from CNN had just written a book.
Right, that's right.
On the experience of Reverend Jackson. So we're grateful for him, and those that came before him and yourself, those that cracked the ice for his great run for the presidency of the United States. And after he gave that speech, Reverend, I was sitting in my home, and I'll tell you the truth, at that time, being a young preacher, I got goosebumps coming through the TV set when he finished talking.
Oh, yeah.
When he finished speaking to the convention that year. I think he spoke so well, Dukakis had to ask him the next day. The question was, what does Jesse want?
Yeah.
And yeah, that was the question. So, Reverend, I just wanted to make a comment on this. Most people, and I won't say all people, but I will say most people, or I will say some of us that have good friends that have known us over the years, or friends that we had a tendency of running with or hanging out with, pretty much in most cases know all about us. Now, in some cases, there may be some things that a running partner or a running girlfriend may not know about you. But in most cases, when you're hanging out with somebody that you run with for years, they know pretty much everything about you. And in my opinion, Reverend, even though it may not have been completely proven as of yet, Donald Trump knew that Jeffrey Epstein was a pedophile. If he spent trips and took trips to Epstein's island, or if he took trips in general with Epstein and he saw young girls hanging out with Epstein, even if you don't rob bank, Miss Austin, I think the guy that's driving the car is just as guilty as somebody that goes into the bank. In my case, Reverend, I'll hang up and I'll listen to a response, but to me, not only is Donald Trump a bigot, and we know it's been proven that he is racist and a bigot, but he himself just may very well be a pedophile. I'll say it again, may be a pedophile. But you don't hang out with somebody for a number of years, and the way these two parted and hung together, and make me think in my mind that you didn't know what was going on. I'll hang up, Reverend. Thank you for all that you do, and I'll listen to your response.
Thank you for your call. You know, Jenny, my position on this, and obviously as this case has evolved over and over again, one, usually people don't want to hide something unless there's something hidden that is of detriment to them. And the pains that Donald Trump has gone through to not let these files come out, and the way they say last night he was on the phone himself trying to get members of Congress to vote against them discharging the DOJ files on Epstein next week after this came out makes me say, even if you have some MAGA people or Trump followers that say it doesn't mean anything, he thinks it means something because he's going to those lengths. Secondly, I think that his knowledge of what was going on, and I think you're right, you have to follow the law. If he had a certain knowledge, he had certain legal obligations. If he didn't, he didn't. And I think that's why we need to know from the files, and we need to have someone that can assert one way or another. But the political side of this, I'm out of the legal side. If you even had a remote accusation that someone like Joe Biden was socializing and dealing with somebody that they knew was a pedophile, and that they had emails back and forth about what they knew, and that they had spent time with one of the victims, there would be impeachment proceedings. And don't even think about if it was Obama. I don't even know if they would have stopped that impeachment. They'd be up in the White House banging the doors down to drag him out. I mean, the standard that they have lowered themselves to on the right wing and Republicans is just awesome. I mean, they have no compunction at all. And mind you, the reason it's not shocking, they had videotape of the man talking about grabbing a woman's privates and they elected him.
Yes,
so the standards of this country has become so low.
With this man, absolutely, and at every turn. You know, one of the things that I'm trying to figure out is whether or not there might be, you know, when the files come out, whether or not we can see whether or not there was a an obstruction of justice. Remember, this is an investigation into the Epstein case and what actually went down. And so if you had the DOJ, knowing that Donald Trump's name was mentioned several times in the file, and they weren't seeking to release the files or were trying not to. If you have a situation, remember, they had someone go and meet with Epstein's accomplice, the woman, and they were trying to see if they could move her to a higher end, if you will, prison, where she'd have more perks and benefits, and was that maybe in exchange for her keeping her mouth quiet, closed. My question is whether or not that begins to rise to the level of obstruction of justice, which could bring about criminal actions.
Right.
And the question would be against whom?
Let's go to Miss Whitaker in North Carolina. Miss Whitaker.
Hello there. How are you guys?
Very well. How are you?
Hello? Oh, good. First of all, I want to thank you, Jennifer, for all that you guys do. And secondly, I want to send a belated happy birthday to you and Reverend Jackson, because I was sick myself, but I'm coming back.
All right.
And the other thing is that, can we have a moment of prayer for Reverend Jackson all day from him? Till you get off, whoever calls in, for the people who call in, whatever they want to do. But he got my prayers all the time. You do too.
Thank
so
you.
I just want to say thank you for doing what you guys do. God bless you.
Bless you. Thank you for your call, and thank you for your prayers. I believe in prayer. Prayer changes things. Let me go to Woody in Philadelphia, WURD. Woody, you're keeping it real with Sharpton and Jones Austin.
Yes, sir, my brother, Reverend. And Miss Austin, it's always a pleasure to talk with you. I've been a little sad since you said what you said there, Rev, about my brother, Jesse Jackson, a man who could talk to presidents, or he could talk to a guy on the street. This brother was so even-toned. It never really could I define totally an individual that can talk to everybody. That was Jesse Jackson. That brother is somebody special. And the world knew it. And when he ran for president, as far as I'm concerned, it was a threat to society to have a black man with that kind of strength and that kind of personality that could have became the president. And oh my goodness, wouldn't that have been something if he had gotten that position? Because with his personality, with the attitude, well, look, I know others have, so I'm not going to hold on. I was trying to get it out because the pleasure of meeting him was something special to me.
All right. Well, thank you for your call, as always, Woody. Let's take our break. We'll be right back. Keeping it real. Sharpton, Jones Austin. Be right back.
Come on. Feeling, baby. Oh, I got the feeling, y'all. Can you put your hands together? I got the feeling. Oh,
I got that. Baby, ow, feeling me, ow, hey, hey, baby, 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 come on, sing it out, baby, baby, come on, baby, 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 can't hear you, hey, hey, I got that. Thank you so much. My name is True Osborne. Humbled and honored.
Some of you forget where you come from and forget how you got there and act like you got there because you were qualified or that you had a good resume. But some of us had to pay a price for your resume to even be read. Some of us had to take nights in jails and licks upside the head or shut out of boardrooms like Byron so you could walk down red carpets and act like you got there by yourself. So I received this award with a special, special place in my heart and on my shelf because I'm getting it from a freedom fighter who never forgot where he came from and how he got there. Yes, we've come a long way. We've had now a black president and now a black vice president, but we still can get shot down and have to march to get a case in court. We still can get shut out of boardrooms. We're still doubly unemployed in a good economy. So we're gonna have to keep marching. And I thank not only my family, a mother that raised me by herself, but I thank that lady at the end of the march that knows she won't be on TV that night and knows her name will never be in the paper, but she believed in me enough to get at the end of the line and make me look good. Because Dr. King used to say, if you call a march and no one shows up, you just going for a walk. And I want to thank those that marched with me. 32 years ago, here in Los Angeles, we marched. And then many years later, with George Floyd and others, we're still marching. And I'm gonna keep marching, I'm gonna keep agitating, and I'm gonna keep going. Until we don't have to do it anymore. Eddie known you a long time, Mariah, Chris and your kids. And I promise you this, the only thing that I really live for is I get up with this dream that every bigot, every racist, everyone in this country that hates will say, damn, he's up again.
It's been a long time coming, but I'm
1968, Dr. Martin Luther King was killed in Memphis, Tennessee. And it has been the commitment of National Action Network to always, in the month he was killed, to let them know they killed the dreamer.
I have a dream today.
They can't kill the dreamer.
democracy. That's what it is. What Trump will erase, we will replace.
Is the dreamers in many cases have reversed and tried to turn it into a nightmare. We come to Wall Street rather than Washington this year to let them know you can try to turn back the clock, but you can't turn back time. We gonna keep the dream alive on Wall Street. No justice! No justice! No justice! What do we want? What do we want?
We are the sons and the daughters. We gonna stand up and make it loud. Just like our God told the Pharaoh, let my people go, go. We are a new generation from the ones who have come before. He's calling us into freedom, let my people go, go. We never shine, never shade. Give me a papa God, rain, make the heavens. If you don't say you know what trouble, let my people go, go. The blood, sweat, and the tears that we gathered through the years. If you don't say you know what trouble, let my people go, go. Wade in the water, we did wade in the water.
Tony Wayford, Los Angeles chapter, National Action Network. He just came here to New York a couple days ago, had to stop by the House of Justice, and I sure enough found some justice, so I know I can leave here feeling like I got peace.
Rev, you know, you were right there
From the beginning.
with the stuff that
Yep.
was going on in Brooklyn at
Yep.
that time, at
Yep.
Howard Beach. You
Yep.
were right there.
He had in one of the early movies, he had my name. Then he put me in Malcolm, and I wasn't even old enough to know Malcolm. So we've been through it all.
For those who see Malcolm X, it's 3 hours. But fast forward to the scene with yourself,
Yep.
Bobby Seale.
Right. Bobby Seale, Denzel, and me.
Yeah.
Denzel was on the set.
Now, let me ask a question.
Yep.
What was your weight on that scene?
I probably about 270. I was bigger then.
Yeah.
Still had the hair, man.
Yeah, you had the head on.
They all need
Denzel,
to be in front of a grand jury. No justice.
And now, America's #1 civil rights leader, the Reverend Al.
You're live, you're live. Keeping it real, keeping it real. I'm your host, Reverend Al Sharpton. Jennifer Jones Austin is our co-host. And we let's go right back to the phones. Jenny, let's go to Brother Jihad, the sage of the South. Brothers Jihad in Atlanta, Georgia. Brother Jihad.
Thank you, Reverend Allen. Hello, Miss Jenny.
Hi.
Good, good. And I wanted, in this Epstein thing, simply put, there's too many powerful people. I don't think they would do this on both sides. You know what I mean? And what comes to my mind is, with the molestation and et cetera, could you imagine 250 years of this kind of treatment where they can just do what they want to do with black bodies, boys, girls, men, you know what I mean, powerful people, and even poor white people. 250 years consistently being at the mercy of a pedophile or pervert or sexual abuser, both male and female. That what blows my mind for our people to have survived that treatment, you know what I mean, at the disposal of these people without being able to stop it. You know what I mean? Some of our grandparents and parents and relatives got a lick in and left town rather than take that abuse, but the vast majority of us was at the mercy of that. This time that we're living in where a man could just order his army to shoot innocent people in a boat,
for so-called drug trafficking, and there's no major alarm in both parties, to be honest with you.
No, you're
You
right.
know what I mean? But yeah, but drug trafficking, we don't kill people for selling drugs in America. You understand what I'm talking about? But the idea that they can just say it openly. I mean, we in some tough times. We in some we have to meet some critical challenges. And I'm gonna run through a couple of things right now. The black veterans. What are they there for? If they could just sit back and watch them dismantle every major black contribution and accomplishment in the military, and you don't hear a peep from the black veterans? You know, they do to us what we allow them to do. I mean, now I haven't heard one black veteran group speak up about all of these things that they're doing. The thing they did in the Netherlands yesterday, they did something else today, and not one black veteran, major black organization.
They took down every major black military officer, and we didn't hear a word,
correct.
not a word.
Not one word. You know what I mean? They remind me of the black police officers that sat by and watched us get whipped up. It's just something about fear. I don't know what it is, you know what I mean? All I can say, it could be fear, you know what I mean? Because the reality, we're going to be tested economically and materially and relationship-wise. Both scriptures, all scriptures say we'll be tested for standing on strong positions. And as soon as we get tested, we get we get weak in the knees.
That's right.
Except for some of us. And I'll end with this, Reverend Sharpton. The Reverend Jackson, the most powerful thing to me, this is to me, that Reverend Jackson gave us was the phrase, keep hope alive. You know what I mean? Because without hope, nothing is possible.
That's right.
Nothing. You know
That's
what I mean?
right.
So when he instilled that spirit in us and attempted to put that spirit in us, he basically, what do you call it? Chiseled himself in black history and world history with that one phrase, keep hope alive. And may God bless him. And as the brothers say, bless him with a peaceful situation and bless him with recovery if it's God's will. And, you know, I love Reverend Jesse Jackson just like I love you. You know what I mean? And I have much respect for Reverend Jesse Jackson and would defend Reverend Jesse Jackson in all situations just like I would defend you.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Yeah, and I know you don't use...
And Reverend, you know Featherman?
Yeah, Fetterman, yeah, the senator.
Yeah, you know, he had visited Mar-a-Lago before all of this happened. You remember that?
Yeah.
When he went down to Mar-a-Lago?
Yes.
You know, on his own. He just went down there. Nobody asked him what he went down there for, what did he discuss, or whatever. And ever since he went to Mar-a-Lago, he's been tripping.
He's one that led the 8 to what they did. But
Yeah.
you know, one of the things, Jenny, that I always listen, you know, with your, I guess my church spiritually, jihad always goes back to the scriptures. And I can't help, I said it at the Saturday rally, I can't help when I think, jihad, about this ballroom that President Trump has tore down the east wing of the White House. And I can't help but think of, you know, the biblical descriptions of Nebuchadnezzar and others, Belshazzar, that had these great parties. One where God wrote the handwriting on the wall, and one where he told Nebuchadnezzar to tell the 3 Hebrew boys to bow. This is straight out of biblical monarchs that we're looking at. And the reason that it come to mind when you were saying that is, where are the Daniels, or where are the Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? So I see the test. I don't see those passing the test. I mean,
or even challenge. Yeah,
that's exactly right. And I see too many of us that hold the scriptures, the Torah, the Bible, the Quran. We're not prophesying as to what this is, because we all are we scared. Then how are you preaching about Nebuchadnezzar and you can't preach about what's going on in your time? We don't need to know what God did. We need to know what God still does.
That's correct. They miss the purpose of the scripture. The purpose of the scripture is, we say that the scriptures are everlasting because it means that it will withstand all generations.
That's right.
And there's wisdom and knowledge in it for all generations. So what we tend to do is we want to, like you just said, we'll talk about that particular part of scripture and talk real strong, but not realizing that that part of scripture was designed to make you get up on your butt and do what you're supposed to do.
That's right.
Thanks a lot. Much love.
All right, much love back at you. Let's go to Miss Jones in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, WURD.
Thank you so much, Rev, for taking my call, and good day to you and Attorney Austin. My prayers definitely go out to the Jackson family, and I agree with your analysis of this tearing down of these wing, and I agree with the previous caller. Also, I want to wish you a happy belated birthday.
Oh, thank you.
As well, and may God keep you healthy for years to come. And also, I haven't called, but I've been listening, and wanted to also say, I understand they were coming after you or the administration there or something to that effect. But most importantly, if they come in after you, they're going to have to come for all of us, seriously, because they've lost their minds. And I was going to post this, but if you don't mind, it just takes a minute as to the AC. I would have liked for the Dems to hold the line as to AC, which is the party's most historic legislation and accomplishment and pride and joy. I strongly believe they would have been successful on the heels of the sweeping wins in the last election. Also, I think the Republicans were going to do the back pay and all those things that the 8 got them to agree on. And they were like using these actions as threats, as they often do. So they really didn't get anything for their most needed votes. Moreover, the Democrats requested just a 1-year extension of the tax credit. They refused. Finally, this administration do not respect orders from the court. So how can we trust them to revisit this matter quickly and operate in a good faith manner? They do not, and all the Democrats should know that by now. When people show you who they are, we must believe them the first time, and especially this administration. Thank you for your time.
Well, thank you, and thank you for your words. Thank you. Let me go to D-Mac in Ohio. D-Mac. Wait a minute. Let me take my break. I'll come right back to you, D-Mac. Keeping it real. Sharpton. Jones Austin. Be right.
Please receive one of the greatest voices for the urban community. One. Amen. Not them yet. This is one of the greatest voices, not many of the greatest voices. We're going to adjust the program quickly at this time. This man has spoken out. He stood on the front line. He has been a man for the people, of the people. Please receive Reverend Al Sharpton.
Thank you, Bishop. To the Franklin family and to all of us gathered, Aretha Franklin was not only an unparalleled artist, she was a civil rights activist and freedom fighter. It is easy to celebrate the gifts that God gives. It is more difficult when someone uses those gifts in ways that enhances humanity. Aretha Franklin was given special gifts, but she used it in a special way. And she would not want us to celebrate her without talking about she stood for something. She never shamed us. She never disgraced us.
She never made us make excuses for her. She represented the best in our community, and she fought for our community until the end. I first met Miss Franklin when I was a teenager. I'd become youth director of New York Operation Breadbasket, and she would come to the strategy meetings with Reverend Jackson. And I would hear the stories of how when Dr. Martin Luther King could make payroll, Harry Belafonte and Aretha Franklin went on an 11-city tour to raise money for Martin Luther King. A lot of artists hang up Dr. King's photo, but Aretha went and raised money and gave it and worked free. Her daddy marched with Dr. King, and she never stopped supporting. As the years went by and I developed National Action Network, and she would call my radio show and have me come to her affairs. She called me one day, she said, "Red Mal, I want to send you something." I said, "Yes, ma'am." She said, "What's your home address?" And she sent it. About 3 days later, I got a check made out National Action Network, signed by Aretha Franklin. I saw about a month later, I said, "You know, I was so blown away. I grew up looking up to you that I framed that check." She said, "Boy, don't you have a copy machine?" She said, "You don't know how I am with my bank accounts. You better cash that check." And but all of her life, she supported the causes. She was a feminist before feminism was popular. She was a civil rights activist when it wasn't popular. She gave us pride, and she gave us a regal bar to reach. And that's why we're all here. We don't all agree on everything, but we agree on Aretha. And she fought for everybody. I remember when we were used to picket, Charles Williams and all of us jumping on the record industry, she said, "Now y'all leave Clive Davis alone. He's one of the good ones." She loved Clive and said, "We got to remember what happened to the Irish and what happened to Jews and what happened to blacks." And that is why we remember her legacy, because she sang a song for all of us. She was the soundtrack of the civil rights movement. If you track where we are, you can follow where Aretha had us. That's why when I look at her and James Brown, whose daughter is here, and others who paid a price, that opened the door, but never forgot where they came from. She was rooted in the black church. She was bathed in the black church. And she took the black church downtown and made folks that didn't know what the Holy Ghost was shout in the middle of a concert. You never saw her perform without her doing gospel, because she never was one to forget where she came from. And that's why we give her this great homegoing. We thank her for what she did with Dr. King. We thank her for what she's done with Reverend Jackson. We thank her for what she's done with all of us. And that is why, you know, the other Sunday on my show, I misspelled respect. And a lot of y'all corrected me. Now I want y'all to help me correct President Trump to teach him what it means. And I say that because when word had went out that Miss Franklin passed,
Trump said she used to work for me. No, she used to perform for you. She worked for us. Aretha never took orders from nobody but God. So Aretha, as you get your rest, my mother passed about 6 years ago. President Clinton, my mother and I had a deal. She said, I'll meet you on the other side. You live the way you're supposed to, and I'll see you in heaven. I said, well, Ma, they tell me there is no bodies in heaven, just spirits. How am I going to know you? I know her sons. How will I know her? She said, I tell you, you meet me at the exchange counter. I said, exchange counter? What kind of exchange counter? She said, well, right after you get through the Golden Gates, there's an exchange counter. That's where you hand in your cross to pick up your crown. We watched Aretha bear her cross down here. She had to sing with a broken heart. She had to work when she didn't get paid. She was a black woman in a white man's world. She bared her cross. She fought a good fight. Now it's time to crown the queen. I'll see you at the exchange counter where you can now hand in your cross. Ain't no cancer over there, Aretha. Hand in your cross and pick up your crown. As I take my seat, I've been asked to read this. Don't do that. Because I only have 5 minutes and y'all will make me go into something else. Dear friends and family of Aretha, Michelle and I extend our heartfelt sympathies to all of those who gathered in Detroit, and we join you in remembering and celebrating the life of the Queen of Soul. From a young age, Aretha Franklin rocked the world of anyone who had the pleasure of hearing her voice, whether bringing people together through thrilling... Keeping it real! Keeping it real. I am your host, Reverend Al Sharpton. Attorney Jennifer Jones Austin is our co-host. Let's go to D-Mac in Ohio, Jenny.
Okay. Good afternoon, Brother Al.
Good afternoon.
Can you hear me well?
Yes, I do. Yes.
Oh, okay. I just have a few things I want to mention, and you can maybe comment on it after we get off there. I was born in middle of World War II, so I can kind of call you a young man. The Dems, what they're doing in their protests against the right wing, and with this man we have in the White House now, we're trying to be civil with an uncivilized person, and we're trying to be humane with an inhumane person. We're trying to be reasonable with an unreasonable person, and or not only person but the whole right, so-called religious right wing, and I helped campaign for Jesse. Matter of fact, I was when he came to the Cleveland area, and the Democratic Party turned on him. I hope you remember that.
I do.
When they saw his how well he was doing, they panicked and they said, we cannot let this man get the nomination. So they turned to Dukakis, and Dukakis got crushed. Okay. And another thing about the so-called religious right, they talk about abortion, and they say they're against abortion, but what they do, they wait until the baby is up and walking around for several years, then they abort them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it doesn't matter. Abortion is abortion. Abortion is when you end a life, and they don't have a problem with ending a life. There anybody that don't agree with them. Us who are protesting their behavior, we have to remember what the scripture says in Revelation 2:10. It said, "Be thou faithful unto death."
Right.
If we're not willing to the point of death, in the face of death, to keep going, we will never be successful. That's why Jesus always was everything was to the death. All the apostles were to the death, and they did, and when the Revelation said in the face of death, it was talking because back then, if you had admitted that you were a Christian, you would die, and they were saying that you had to be faithful even in the face of death, and choice. People have the Democrats, and all Democrats are not for abortion. All Democrats are not for the LGBT, whatever you call those people, the gay people. They're not for it. But what they're saying is that we have a God-given right, and I say we people in general, a God-given right to choose. God don't make us do right, but he gives us a choice to do right. And so I just wanted to drop these things off to you, and so that people comment on it.
I appreciate that.
Have a pleasant afternoon.
Same to you. Thank you for your call. Let me go. It's policy day. Let's go to Brother Todd in Cleveland, Ohio. Todd.
Reverend Al Sharpton, Jennifer Jones, Austin. Jennifer, this question is more to you, but it is to both of you, but more to you. Here's the question. Okay. Is there overwhelming evidence that equates to proof that air traffic controllers should have the same protection from pay being blocked from them as Congress? And here's the motivation for the question.
Wait a minute. The same protection as what?
As Congress. Congress does not have to come up. They don't have to come up for reappropriation.
Right.
As a result of what I'm about to tell the public.
Okay.
On September 11th, easy date to remember, different year, 1981, Congress voted to, so that they don't have to come up for reappropriation again. September 11th, 1981. That's Public Law 97-51. Okay? 48 to 44 in the Senate, 281 to 133 in the House of Representatives. I'm bringing that up for this reason. Just 1 month and 5 days before that vote, Ronald Reagan fired 11,000 air traffic controllers. Okay? They were striking. He referenced the Taft-Hartley Act, which prevents them from being able to strike because they're federal employees. He referenced the necessity to commerce that they provide, and he referenced that they were bringing a peril to national safety as a result of not doing their jobs. Not doing their jobs. After he fired those 11,000 air traffic controllers that were striking, and they were striking for good reason actually, but they did violate the law. He hired 900 military people to replace them. So there were 3,000 supervisors that kept working that didn't strike, 2,000 other workers that didn't strike, plus 900 military people. Listen to that. Military people that are doing something that was not their jobs when they signed up for the military. Sound familiar? That's how important air traffic control is, okay? So that brings us to the present here, okay? And by the way, that went on for 10 years. I was in my early 20s by the time they pulled out all the military people because they had brought the numbers up to what they wanted to bring them up to in air traffic control. That brings us up to now, past 9/11/2001, and we know how commerce was disrupted when we shut down all the air traffic after 9/11/2001. That brings us up to now, and the disruption to commerce and national safety by asking these people to continuously work without pay, who have already proven themselves to be no less than equal to Congress because they work 24 hours a day, every day. Every single day, there are air traffic controllers working to provide safety for the common good through air travel, every single day. And they've been asked not to be paid, but to continue to work, although their necessity to be there has been proven, in my mind, to be important and something that we can't do without. So I ask the question again, without going all back into the details of it all. People could look up the Taft-Hartley Act, 1947, to know what I'm talking about, and consider if they did that in August 5th of 1981, and in that same year, 1 month and 5 days later, Congress, who can fix this so that it never happens again, got set up so that they don't ever have to come up for reappropriation again, which is why they got paid during this shutdown. Should air traffic control, Jennifer, as policy, and Reverend Sharpton, should air traffic controllers have the same protection as Congress does?
So you're asking me to, I'm just going to say very directly, you're asking me to opine on a law that I have not read. So I can only give you what I do know at this particular point, but I can lean more into it. What we have to appreciate is that the reason that Congress continued to be paid was not because of a law that they passed for themselves, but rather because the Constitution of the United States of America says that Congress will continue to be paid even if there is not an annual reauthorization. And it has everything to do with the Founding Fathers and amendments to the Constitution, essentially stating that you cannot have law and order, you can't have the functioning of government if you don't have congressional leaders in there managing the government, making sure that funds are appropriated, legislation is passed, etc. And so you have to begin there. I have not read what you're talking about, but the Constitution and constitutional amendments is the basis for Congress continuing to be paid even in the event of a shutdown, not some legislation that was passed by them. The structural foundation provides for it. The other thing that I just want to say to you is that if I were actually arguing against what you're saying, what I would say to you is that if we don't have people up in the air flying, that doesn't stop the government from continuing to function in the best interest of people. It doesn't, and the example that I would give to you is that we had to put on hold a lot of flying during the midst of the COVID pandemic. The world didn't stop. Yes, our economy was compromised, but it didn't mean that the world stopped. And so my point is that I would simply be arguing, I understand how it compromises our economy. I understand how it affects, interstate, international commerce, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the entire nation is standing still. And what the Founding Fathers and those who sought to amend the Constitution were intending to do was to make sure that government does not shut down, and therefore that the nation itself doesn't shut down completely.
The slowdown and the negative compromise to the economy was so great that Reagan instructed 900 military people to replace those people, air traffic controllers, until they could get the numbers back up. And Public Law 9.
I'm not disputing that.
Well, I want to add this.
I'm just telling you.
Wait a minute. Let me hold you past a break. We'll be right back. More of you keeping it real. Sharpton, Jones, Austin, right after this.
I've been traveling around the country talking to the radio announcers, the church people and the street people, telling them that God has smiled on me. God has smiled on you if you got breath in your body. If he woke you up this morning and started you on your way. But I want to tell you some stories of people that God smiled on. We know the story of Dr. Martin Luther King, how he started way back in Montgomery, Alabama in 1955, trying just to get dignity, trying to get respect. And he went all the way to the mountaintop. But he didn't forget about the brothers in the valley. He didn't forget about those trapped in the alley. And I hear Brother Martin King say, God has smiled on me. He's been good to me. Let me tell you, God has smiled on me. It's been so good to me. Then I see as Dr. King went on, another man stepped into the forefront by the name of John F. Kennedy, who rose up and said, let's not stand back. Let's not wait for a handout. Let's wait for a way out. He said, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. He said, don't us gravel and don't us moan, because God done smile on us. Let me say it. God has smiled on me. He has set me free. Let me say it. God has smiled on me. One more time. I want to say it real slow. I'll say God has smiled on me. He has set me free. Pick it up. God has smiled on me. I feel it. Then I went on backstage at the Apollo Theater and I saw a man come out. They call him the King of Soul, James Brown. And James Brown said, Reverend, don't you worry. I started out as a shoe shine boy. I started out as a convict. I started out uneducated. But I learned to sing my song. And I sung it all over the world. I told him it was a man's world. I told him about the big payback. I told him Papa got a brand new bag. And all over the world, they can hear my voice. But Reverend, don't you frown. Don't you bow your head. Tell him what you told me, Brother Brown. I said, now God has smiled on me. He has set me free. Yeah. He has set me free. God has smiled on me. It's been so good to me. Then I went home and I told my mother what Brown told me. And she said, son, even though we don't have much, we don't need relief. All we need is belief. And she said, he didn't tell you no lie, because the Lord will take care of you. God sits high, but he looks down low. And every time you get discouraged, every time you're burning down, all you have to do is think of the things that God made a way for you and look toward the heavens. Lift your eyes to the hills and say, God, 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 don't smile on me. Now then, the God has smiled on me. He has set me free. God has smiled on me. And that has been so good to me. Yes, he has. I said, God smiled on me. He has set me free. And I know all over the country, smile on me. We need jobs. We need a way to make it. We need help. We need jobs. We need a way to make some money to feed our families and raise our bread. We need a way to survive, so we don't need crime as a survival kit. We just need a little bit. But don't give the hope up. Don't lose the faith, because God will smile on you. God will give you the strength. God will make a way for you. Adam Clayton Powell said, keep the faith. Keep the faith, baby. I hear Robert Kennedy saying that it's not the dream of, but it's the dream that'll live on forever. Just know that God will smile on you. Dr. King had a dream. Dr. King said, I went to the mountaintop, but I didn't stop there. I looked over and saw the promised land. I hear Brother Malcolm saying, don't sit on the stoop. Stand up and be a man. Respect yourself. Be somebody. Then I hear the brothers in the Hispanic community say, I'm going to stand up and be a man. I'm going to do the best I can. I had a reaper say, I don't care what time you come home, but just give me some respect when you get there. He has set me free. God, smile on me. You've been so good to me. Sit down. And as we move on in history, let us remember that if we look to God, God has the answer to all of our problems. God is still the same God He was years ago, and we can still make it. We can still hold on like Frederick Douglass did. We can still keep him on like Martin Luther King did. We can still ride on the way everyone that made it did. They didn't have much, but they had a whole lot of faith. They didn't have money, but they had a lot of determination. We know that God will look out for His children, that God will make a way out of no way if you just keep the faith and refuse to lose. And God will make a way, because God's children don't have color. God's children just have will. And I can still hear somewhere in my mind.
Keeping it real, keeping it real. I'm your host, Reverend Al Sharpton. Attorney Jennifer Jones Austin is our co-host. Don't forget, Politics Nation with Al Sharpton live at 5 p.m. and it will be popping this week because I'm going to go deep into the Epstein files. I have some experts on, but I certainly going to headline how we are dealing with the 8 Democratic defectors, how we are going forward with the shutdown, with the restoring of those that were interrupted, I'll put it that way, with their SNAP benefits. You're going to want to watch both nights, 5 p.m. Eastern Time on MS Now, formerly known, or at least till tomorrow, as MSNBC. But it's the same channel, same station, same time, 5 p.m. Saturday and Sunday, MS Now, formerly known MSNBC. And you in the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut area, meet me or beat me to the Saturday Action Rally. We getting ready to buckle down for how we deal with these corporations who want to change their dates of their stockholders or shareholders meetings. But we have a strategy I'm going to lay out on Saturday. Make sure you're in the house if you're in the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut area. At the House of Justice, 106 West 145th Street in the village of Harlem. You that are not in New York, you can watch it live on Impact Television, or you can watch it on live stream at nationalactionnetwork.net. You know, Jenny, we go back to Todd, but I just thought about it. A lot of people may not know around the country. It was Reverend Jackson that named our headquarters the House of Justice. I'm going to put that video up where when we first opened in the early 90s, he spoke at the ribbon cutting and said, call this the House of Justice. So it was Jesse Jackson that named the House of Justice, our headquarters, the House of Justice. All right, let's go back to Todd. Go ahead, Todd.
Wow. So what I was saying was it slows down commerce and the ability for us to have safe travel in this country so much if air traffic controllers aren't working that it becomes a matter of peril, which is what Reagan was talking about. And Reagan's position was not only are you violating the law because you're not legally allowed to strike, after we dump you, we're going to just get 900 people from the military to replace you until we can retrain some more because we need that many air traffic controllers to keep up. These people can't even work past the age of 56 without special authorization from the head of Department of Transportation. And even then, they can't work past 61. That's the cutoff. That's how mentally tough that job is. And that's how important this job is to the well-being of this country. And that's how important this job is to the well-being of us managing our debt through people being able to travel commercially and getting packages back and forth and things such as that. So I'm not trying to change your mind about public law 97-51 that Congress doesn't have to come up for reappropriation, because they don't, and it's no big deal to me that they don't. What I'm saying is that air traffic controllers are actually no less than equal, actually more important than Congress, and they should have the same protection, or it's going to work against us being able to pay down our debt and have safety in the air.
Yeah, but couldn't you? No, well, first of all, you're not going to have lack of safety in the air, because if you don't have air traffic controllers, the planes aren't taking off, as was evidenced by all of these flight cancellations. So there's not going to be an issue of safety in the air. You're really talking about how does this affect commerce and the economy. And I guess all I keep on coming back to is you could actually apply that to many other facets and aspects of life. We have a lot of freight travel. What if something happens train freight travel? What if something happens over there? What if something happens in hospitals? Whatever it may be. The very bottom line, what I need you to appreciate is that the Constitution is what gave Congress the authority to keep getting paid. Presidential actions, by way of executive order or otherwise, are not law. They just so just because Ronald Reagan said we need this because I need to keep the planes up in the air because I need to keep commerce going, that is an economic argument that he's making, but it doesn't really have a legal basis. That's all I'm saying to you. And so you cannot, just because you have an economic need, automatically say that that's a definitive law. That's all I'm saying to you.
I understand what you're saying, but I'm saying again in exit, it isn't just about economics. It's about safety in general for the common good of the United States. And public law 97
up in the air, as one of our good friends who listens, reminds us, you're not going to have you're not going to have planes up in the air, because a plane can't get up in the air, it can't go up, it can't travel, it can't come down without air traffic controllers managing it. So there's not going to be an issue of safety in the air, because there are no planes up there if the air traffic controllers aren't there.
That's the point that I'm making. They're not going to allow it to come down to that because it's so important. But you're missing the point of public law 97-51. Congress set that up so that they never have to come up for reappropriation again. That's why I set up this on that same year. Just a month and 5 days before, they fired 11,000 employees from the federal government, replaced 900 of them from the military that were equal and probably most people will argue more important than Congress, just so they could keep them moving. And I'm saying it's worth it for the public to look at this and say, wait a minute, air traffic control has proven themselves to be equal in most people's mind, more in a lot of people's minds, important than Congress, and they should never be in a position again to where if they're in good standings that they should not get paid. They should have the same protection that Congress does, because they're just that important.
Would you say the same thing about the food USDA?
No.
Safety workers?
No.
Why not? People got to eat. It's unsafe if they're not out there being able to inspect the food, and if the food is not moving, and the produce is not moving, people cannot get their basic nutrients. Isn't that unsafe? Isn't that the same argument you're making?
It's unsafe, but not to the same level. So I hope people read that law. I hope people read that law. It's about 12 pages, and I hope people go back and look at Reagan. Them Republicans love Reagan. Go back and look at what Reagan's argument was about firing all those people, and consider what Bill Clinton's position was when he hired about 800 of them back when he got into office. They're just that important, and this is something that we should be talking about on a broadcast like this, as we have just done.
And you have just done it. Thank you for your call.
Let
me go to Percy Johnson in Detroit, Michigan. Percy, the organizer extraordinaire in Detroit.
Well, Mal?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you can hear me. Anyway, we kind of running on time, but I want to make the comment that doggone it, we done woke up again, 10 toes down on top of the devil's head, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We here.
Right. And fighting for our people to
keep that doggone evil spirit down up under us so we can lift people up and get what they deserve. But Jenny, I want to ask you this question on what they passed. What is this that the Senate are getting? $1 million for? What did the 8 senators pass? I'm not really hearing enough conversation on that. Is part of the bill that they passed. Are you aware of what I'm talking about?
I'm not sure what you're talking about, because what they were really doing, at least as I understand it, is that they were agreeing to come back and get the government going again to essentially fight another day on the Affordable Care Act enhanced subsidies. And what they got from the majority Senate leader was an assurance that he would put to the floor a vote on extending the enhanced subsidies for health care insurance. But I don't know what you're talking about when you reference $1 million. I'm not sure about that at all.
Yeah,
now,
well, it was they were saying that it was 8 Republican senators that had it stuck something in there where they're getting additional funds. You hear anything about that?
No, I'd have to look at that. I'd have to.
Yeah, I'd have to look at that as well. I didn't see that. But thank you for your call as always, Percy. Let me apologize to those that we didn't get on. You can call in tomorrow. We will be live tomorrow doing Keeping It Real, 1 to 4 Eastern. Let me thank Attorney Jennifer Jones Austin. Let me thank all of you that called in, listened in, you that called in and couldn't get through, but hung in there anyhow. Remember, whatever you do, wherever you go, however you feel, tell somebody. Tell anybody. How about this? Tell everybody. Reverend Al told you personally, keep it real. Keep it real. Whatever you do, keep it real. I'll talk to you tomorrow.